Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berks County. My name is Judd Bortz, and I use he, him pronouns. As Unitarian Universalists, we come together not with a list of required beliefs, but with a set of shared values centered on an unconditional, unshakable love. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are at this moment, in the sanctuary or online, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome into this community. As we are gathering, I want to extend a special welcome to anyone visiting with us this morning. If you haven't already, please take a moment to fill out one of our green connection cards in the pews and drop it in the offering basket this morning, and then please join us after the service for coffee and conversation during fellowship time in the Gerber Room. Those joining online, please take a minute to write your name in the chat box and let us know where you are joining from this morning. You'll find the UU Berks Church web address in the chat box and a link to today's order of service. You can sign up on the web page for our weekly newsletter. The connection cards can also be used to request calls and visits from Reverend John, to update your personal information, and to connect with the lay leadership of the church. Please drop those cards in the offering basket. Pastoral requests will be forwarded confidentially to the minister. For new families and our youngest members, there are a few options for being present in worship this morning. There is our new children's space at the back of the sanctuary where Miss Erin, or whoever is watching today, is keeping an eye on things, or you may sit in the pews with your parents. There is also quiet nursery space just off the sanctuary through the doors across the hallway. Audio of the service is available there. Now, let's take a moment to greet each other with a wave or a namaste and a smile, and as you do, please wave back towards the cameras and greet our online participants.
Our chalice reading this morning is by the Reverend Chip Rausch. This is the time for you to light your chalice if you have one at home, while we light ours here in the sanctuary. Deeper than DNA, more fundamental than molecules or quarks, at our living core, we are wholeness and transfiguring love. We often forget that power, becoming lonely or resentful, comparing ourselves to others, acting out of our fears rather than living our glory. Occasionally, we rouse from our trance to remember our wholeness. For a time, we embody unsentimental love. We make efforts to wake others and to remain fully present ourselves. Our lives and our time here together are made sacred by our striving. For the next hour and for the rest of our lives, may we be more aware of the spirit of life evolving through and among us. Come, let us worship together on this beautiful morning. Would you all please rise in body or spirit and join in our opening hymn, number 1000.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey.
Once upon a time, a mother and her daughter were carrying bags of food to a neighboring village where people were hungry and had no food of their own. The two had to travel a great distance, which made them very tired, so they stopped to rest. As they sat down, they heard a voice call out to them, "Hello." The two travelers looked around, but saw no one. "Hello," said the voice again. "Look over here by the rock." The mother and her daughter looked over by the rock, and there they saw a thorn bush. The two looked at the thorn bush for a moment, and then they looked at each other. "I believe that thorn bush is talking to us," said the little girl. "I am not a thorn bush," said the voice. "I am a beautiful apple tree. If you like, you may sit a while and admire my beauty." "If you don't mind my saying so," said the little girl, "you do not look anything like an apple tree, and you do look exactly like a thorn bush." "Silly girl," said the voice, "I am the most beautiful apple tree in all the land. Please feel free to sit and enjoy my beauty." "Are you quite sure you're an apple tree?" asked the mother. Yes, I'm quite sure." "Then perhaps you can help us," said the mother. "You see, we are carrying food to a neighboring village where people are hungry. Since you are an apple tree, you could give us some apples to take to the people who have nothing to eat." "No," said the voice from the thorn bush. "No? Why not? The people are very hungry. They don't have any food at all. They would love to have some of your apples." "No," repeated the voice from the thorn bush. "You see, I don't have any apples right now." "Oh, that's too bad." "Well, we must be going," and the mother and daughter stood up and continued on the road to the village. "Come back," cried the thorn bush. "Come back and admire my beauty." But the mother and daughter did not hear the thorn bush. After the two had traveled many miles, they became very tired once again and decided it was time to stop and rest. They had not been sitting long when they heard another voice. "Hello," said the voice. The mother and her daughter looked around a while before they noticed a very small man sitting next to a rock. The man was dressed in very stylish and expensive clothes. "Don't worry," he said. "I am not a bad man. I won't hurt you. In fact, I'm a very good man." "You're a good man?" asked the mother uncertainly. "Oh, yes, a very, very good man. I read the Holy Book every day for hours and hours. I pray each morning when I rise and pray again in the evening when I go to bed." "Are you quite sure you're a good man?" asked the mother. "Oh, yes, quite sure." "Well, then perhaps you will help us. My daughter and I are carrying food to a neighboring village where the people are hungry. We're very tired from walking so long. Would you please help us carry these bags to the village so that the people there will have something to eat?" "No," said the little man. "I'm a good man, but if I were to help you carry those bags, I might mess up my nice new clothes. Then I might not look as good. How would anyone know I'm a good man if I don't look fine? Sorry, I cannot help you." "Oh, that's too bad," said the mother. "Well, we must be on our way," and the two picked up their bags of food and continued down the road. No, come back. Stay here with me, for I am very, very lonely." But the mother and her daughter did not hear him, and they continued walking on the road to the village. For a while, the two walked in silence. Finally, the daughter said to her mother, "I'm confused. Today we have seen a strange plant that claimed to be an apple tree, and we also saw a strange little man who claimed to be a good man, but how can we be sure? I mean, how can we tell a real apple tree from a fake one, or a real good person from a fake one?" "Well," said the mother, "it isn't always easy to tell the difference between something that is real and something that is fake. But it seems to me that if you want to call yourself an apple tree, you should probably give the world some apples. And if you want to call yourself a good person, then you should probably give this world some loving kindness and a helping hand. After all, it is by our fruits that we are known." From my colleague, the Reverend Christopher Bice. Let us sing together now, hymn number 299, Make Channels for the Stream of Love.
Make channels for the streams of love where they may broadly run, and love has overflowing streams to fill them everyone. But if at any time we cease such channels to provide, the very founts of love for us will soon be parched and dried. For we must share if we would keep this gift, all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love.
Let us open our minds and our hearts to the spirit of this community. Take this moment to call to mind all who are in need of our kindness, caring, and love. Consider if there is someone in your life, even if that someone is yourself, who needs our thoughts and our support this week, who needs to be seen and celebrated with. We take this time to honor those souls. Those who are online may share their joys and sorrows in the chat box, and those here in the sanctuary are invited to come forward and place stones in our common bowl in sympathy or celebration or solidarity. Let us sing together now, Spirit of Life, first in Spanish and then in English.
Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí y al corazón, cántale tu compasión, sopla valor, sube en la mar. Hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Ay, hágame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea.
Our meditation this morning is by Alice Anacheka Naisman. In a world so filled with brokenness and sorrow, it would be easy to lose ourselves in never-ending grief, to be choked by our outrage, to be paralyzed by the enormity of suffering, to feel our hearts squeezed tight with hopelessness. Instead, this morning, let us simply breathe together as we hold our hearts open. Breathing in as our hearts fill with compassion. Breathing out as we pray for healing in our world and in our lives. Breathing in, opening ourselves to the transforming power of love. Breathing out as we pray for peace in our world and in our lives. Breathing in as we hold hope in our hearts. Breathing out as we pray for justice in our world and in our lives. We know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world. Breathing in, we are the prayer. Breathing out, we are the healing. Breathing in, we are the love. Breathing out, we are the peace. Breathing in, we are the hope. Breathing out, we are the justice. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world. Blessed be. May it be so. Let us be together in silence.
Good morning again. This past winter was a pretty tough time for me. In many ways, it was the darkness before the dawn. I'm happy to report that the dawn has been emerging over the last few months. I am utterly surprised to hear myself say that I am alone and I am happy in the same sentence. During the cold, dark winter, there were some bright spots. There was one very bright spot which will be forever etched in my memory. It was during the Winter Olympics. I quickly became fascinated with the U.S. skater Alyssa Liu. Her story of being the youngest skater in history to win the U.S. figure skating championship at the age of 13, then making the radical decision to drop out of skating at 16. She came back 2 years later, but as a very different person, with a completely different attitude. This time, she was going to do it all on her own terms. By the time she took the ice for the individual long program, I was already a big fan. As I watched her skate, I felt like I was witnessing something similar to the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. It was definitely a moment. I knew the world was watching, and I felt like she was inspiring and teaching all of us. I was jumping around my house and screaming. I felt like I just witnessed a kind of miracle. I recently read a book titled The Courage to be Disliked. It is based on the teachings of Alfred Adler. As I considered what I wanted to say in this reflection, I began to piece something together which I hadn't previously. Alyssa Liu, whether she knew it or not, was demonstrating many of the key principles of Adler's teachings. First, here's what Wikipedia has to say about him. Alfred Adler was born 1870. He was an Austrian medical doctor, psychotherapist, and a founder of the School of Individual Psychology. His emphasis on the importance of feelings of belonging, relationships within the family, and birth order set him apart from Freud and others in their common circle. He proposed that contributing to others was how the individual feels a sense of worth and belonging in the family and society. He coined the phrase inferiority complex. Adler used to say to his melancholy patients, "You can be cured in 14 days if you follow this prescription. Try to think every day how you can please someone else." Here's the part where I believe Alyssa Liu so eloquently showed us. Adler said, "We should see everyone as our comrades, not our enemies. If you compete with people around you, you have no choice but to be conscious of victory or defeat." Adler further elaborated, "Here is what is so terrifying about competition. Even if you're not a loser, even if you're someone who keeps on winning, if you are someone who has placed himself in competition, you will never have a moment's peace. You don't want to be a loser, and you will always have to keep on winning if you don't want to be a loser." Alyssa Liu wasn't competing with the other skaters. She was skating for the joy of it and the opportunity to express her art. She demanded full personal control of her performance, choosing the music MacArthur's Park, written by Jimmy Webb and performed by Donna Summer, and her whole routine, which she choreographed to it. I absolutely love that song and its emotionally filled, haunting melody. I even believe there may be a hidden message to our country. Haven't we left the cake out in the rain? Alyssa said she didn't care if she fell or if she won or lost. She was just thrilled to be there. In professional skating, that was a revolutionary attitude. The commentators said with awe that she was just like a child on the ice, just playing, skating with sheer joy, even that she could have easily done better in their minds. She could care less. I applaud her maturity, her freedom, and her commitment to focus on her expression and her art. In the world of competitive sports, it is refreshing, and I guarantee it has changed many athletes' perspectives. Here's some additional wisdom from Alfred Adler. When you are able to truly feel that people are my comrades, your way of looking at the world will change utterly. No longer will you think of the world as a perilous place or be plagued by needless doubts. The world will appear before you as a safe and pleasant place, and your interpersonal relationship problems will decrease dramatically. In conclusion, if you've never heard of Alfred Adler, check him out. And if you haven't yet watched the gold medal performance by Alyssa Liu, I highly recommend it. Thank you.
Two readings this morning. The first comes to us from Rebecca Parker. Choose to bless the world. Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of the hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting. Any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up wounds, welcome the stranger, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love. Any of these can draw down the prison door, hoard bread, abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love. You must answer this question: what will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abound. There is an embrace of kindness that encompasses all life, even yours. And while there is injustice, anesthetization, or evil, there moves a holy disturbance, a benevolent rage, a revolutionary love, protesting, urging, insisting that which is sacred will not be defiled. Those who bless the world live their life as a gesture of thanks for this beauty and this rage. The choice to bless the world can take you into solitude, to search for the sources of power and grace, native wisdom, healing, and liberation. More, the choice will draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of keeping faith, the life of ritual and praise, the comfort of human friendship, the company of earth, the chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can save the world. Together, that is another possibility waiting. And from the Christian scriptures and the Gospel of Matthew, the parable of the Good Samaritan. An expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. "Rabbi," he said, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? What do you read here?" He answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might, and your neighbor as yourself." And Jesus said to him, "You have given the right answer. Do this, and you will live." But wanting to vindicate himself, he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers, who stripped him, beat him, and took off, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down the road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came upon him, and when he saw him, he was moved with compassion. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, treating them with oil and wine. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, 'Take care of him, and when I come back, I will repay you whatever more you spend.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers?" "The one who showed him mercy." Jesus said to him, go and do likewise. The young lawyer walked home after his encounter with Jesus, feeling disturbed. Like his question had been answered, but also not answered at the same time, because that's how the parables work. He felt like his question had been answered, but he also felt like he had been challenged. Felt like he'd just been accused of something. And it started to eat away at him. It started as a little itch in the back of his brain, and by the time he was almost home, it had turned on to a full-on burning in his head. And as he entered his home, he realized, I think I asked the wrong question. And so he ate a quick meal and left his house again and went back down the path, hoping to find Jesus and the disciples again. And as night was falling, he came upon the encampment where Jesus and his disciples were spending the evening. There they all were, sitting around the campfire, recounting the stories of the day, when Jesus noticed him. Oh, hey, you're back. Yes, Rabbi, yes. I have another question for you. I get what you were telling me about loving my neighbor and the love for the Samaritan, and I'm going to admit that's hard for me to grasp, what with their outcastedness and all, and I'm just wondering about the level of that love for a neighbor. It's not like I don't have love in my life. I have love in my life. You know, I love my family, and I like my neighbors. Well, most of them, or at least I try not to bother them or get in their way too much. But
I don't quite know what this love is you are talking about, Jesus. This love of neighbor as love for self. I'm supposed to love them like I love myself. How, Jesus? How do I love myself? I guess is my question. I don't suppose you've got another Samaritan story you could tell me to help me, kind of close the loop on this and get to the bottom of it. And Jesus sighed and said, look, kid, I don't just pull these out of thin air, okay? All right? These are parables. These are very carefully crafted stories designed to instill some deep inner wisdom. I don't just pull them out of a bag. But don't get upset and don't go away. Sit down. Let's see if we can figure this out. Now, I'm going to confess this morning that I am the young lawyer in this gospel sequel I am just making up right now. I have struggled often with this idea of loving myself. And I go back to this parable again and again and again. How do I love myself? My neighbor is easy, but me, I'm full of doubt and insecurity. I don't like what I do sometimes. And if I can't love myself, am I truly loving my neighbor? What is this love of self that Jesus is trying to get at in the story? Well, first off, and let me be upfront, this is not egotism that is being talked about in the parable. It's not about being one man as an island and narcissism at all. No, Jesus is talking about that rich, deep, community-infused agape love that the Greeks love to talk about, that whole community love, a full wholeness. There's no self, really, in that equation. Because at the time, the people of Jesus' time and place had a very different concept of what the self was. There was the individual. They had a concept of the individual, but it was always an individual in relationship to the community to which the individual belonged. The two were inextricably linked together. There was no isolated individual. It was always in relationship to family, to community, to the neighborhood that they belonged to. And Jesus understood this, and his audience understood this. So when he tells the parable of the Good Samaritan, in essence, what he's telling the crowd is, hey, maybe we could be a little less parochial about the bounds of our love for one another. Here, let me pull a Samaritan out of thin air, somebody that we find hard to love, and smack him down right in the center of the neighborhood and blow your minds. And let's think about that for a little bit. Let's not be so narrow. Love of self and love of others were tied together. And for people to want something for themselves was to want something for the whole neighborhood. The question for Jesus was just, how big's the neighborhood? What size are we talking about? That was the point in his context. And then modernity happened. And the myth of the rugged individual came about, and the ability for us to all pull our own selves up by our bootstraps. Every man is an island. I am me, and me alone. I am it. The center of my own universe. And the more we buy into that form of egotism, the more harm we do to ourselves, to our communities, Because the more we live with ourselves in comparison to other selves, the more that doubt creeps in. And then maybe a little self-criticism, and even worse, some self-loathing. That's the heart of my own struggles. That is my mental health journey, friends. I get stuck in those ruts of not believing in myself and not liking myself. My imposter syndrome from time to time starts developing its own case of imposter syndrome. It's just imposters all the way down. And that's the point where I start to wonder, am I even capable of loving my neighbor if I cannot love myself in the way that I am thinking about, or worse? And what a position to put myself in. I'm wanting more for my neighbor than I want for myself. How does that work? What am I doing to myself? Am I falling short? In Jesus' time, love of self and love of others was not an if-then equation. If I can love myself, then I can love my neighbor. If I can love my neighbor, then I can love myself. They were inextricably linked. It was a feedback loop. Loving self was a part of loving your neighbor because it was a love of the neighborhood, that agape. The question is, what sparks the energy that runs through that loop? Jesus thought for a little bit, and then he turned to the young lawyer and said, all right, I don't have a second Samaritan for you, but I do have a story. Sit down, and maybe this will help you figure things out. I have this friend, another rabbi. He goes by the name of Hillel, and he's a genius. He's one of the most brilliant legal scholars of our time. He knows our law inside and out, forwards and backwards, and he's renowned for it. Everybody knows. Our Roman occupiers know who he is. His knowledge is so famous. In fact, the Romans came to him one day and they said, Hillel, listen, your Jewish law is so lengthy, it's so complex, and we hear you know it better than anybody. So could you, as a challenge, stand on one leg and recite it all for us? And so Hillel, being the clever man that he is, and the lawyer speaks up, yeah, I know, every first-year student hears the story, Jesus. He stands on one leg and he says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your might, and your neighbor yourself. And he puts his leg down. We all know that. And Jesus, that's the exact answer I gave you when you asked me the question this morning. We already talked about this. Jesus said, yeah, we did. How about that? But that doesn't answer my question, Jesus. I'm asking you, how do I love myself? Jesus said, forget about the second part of that equation in the law. Go back to the first bit. What's the first part of that commandment? You love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your might. There you go, said Jesus, once again answering and not answering the question. Now, we struggle with God concepts in our Unitarian Universalist tradition. Some of you, I know, are perfectly comfortable sitting here listening to me talk about God, and you have some idea of what it does, and you've got no trouble hearing, love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and might. And some of you are struggling with that. I understand. But that first part of the commandment is where we're starting. And so I want us all to turn on our Unitarian Universalist translation algorithms this morning and follow me down this path for a bit so maybe we can get sort of on the same page together. Rabbi Michael Lerner, a contemporary religious scholar, many years back once said that the name Yahweh Yod He Vav He in the Jewish scriptures, the holy tetragrammaton in that 50-cent seminary language. Yod He Vav He is actually a very complex form of the verb to be. Translated means that which is becoming that which shall be. That which is becoming that which shall be. Or as I've come to shorten that over the years, everything. All that is, all that was and is now and ever shall be. Or, as we like to call it in our UU circles, the interdependent web of all existence. Or the great heart at the center of all things, as I like to mythologize. This is where I'm going this morning with that love. Love all that is. Love the interdependent web with all your heart and all your soul and all your might. Because here is the great mystery of the self. Here I am, a absolutely unique individual, here for one performance and one performance only. Intimately tied to everything that has come before me. I am because they were. Intimately tied to everything that is going to come after me. They are because I was and I did, and inextricably tied to everything going on in the here and now. I am because we are. All that is, or as I'm going to call it for the rest of the sermon, the neighborhood. Capitalized, definitive article, the neighborhood, without bounds. Here I am with great gifts, as Rebecca Parker tells us. I am gifted and I am a gift to the world. I am an individual and at the same time I am integral to the web, to all that is. And so that great commandment is as interconnected as we are with one another. Love God, all that is, the neighborhood. Love self as a gift and as gifted. It's all of one piece. And once we can get somewhat settled with that idea, once we can accept it, embrace it a little bit, the choice to love really becomes no choice at all. Because we're either loving our way into the web and participating in the ongoing creation, or we are closing ourselves off from it. All that is left to ask is, to what degree? The young lawyer asks, how do I love myself? How do I love my neighbor? And I think he was looking for a methodology, bullet points, a step-by-step guide. But the how question is really one of degree. How intensely shall I love? How expansively shall I love? Let's break down some language. Love with all your heart. In the Hebrew scripture, the concept of the heart is the inner self, the spiritual self, the spirit of life that exists within us, the inner spark. It is both unique and it is shared by everybody in the neighborhood. We all possess that spark. It is our passions and our thoughts, our yearnings, our dreamings, and our ideas. Love with all your soul. In the Greek language of the New Testament, that word was psyche, which for the Greeks was not a mental thing. It was a whole being thing, the inner self, the outer self, everything that a person was. And so it is love with not just your passions and your dreamings, but your actions and your talents, with the works of your hands, with the words that you speak. And then we get to might. Love with all your might. In most English Bibles, that gets translated instead as strength, which, okay, sure, but we're finite creatures. What kind of strength do we actually have? That sounds a little limiting. In Greek translations, it's power, but even that doesn't quite meet up to the concept that Jesus is trying to get across. In their own native Aramaic language, they would have been speaking, it's translated as wealth, which seems a little shallow and mercenary, but not a bad commandment. I mean, love with every resource you have at your disposal. Yes, absolutely. Please, there are some people in this world who could use that lesson. But the might that Jesus refers to goes back to the law as it is expressed in the book of Deuteronomy. And the word that the Hebrew authors used for might in this instance is me'od, which is only used in the Hebrew scriptures twice as a verb. The rest of the time, or as a noun, I'm sorry, I know my parts of speech. The rest of the time, me'od is an adverb, and it means very. With all your me'od, love with all your veryness. Love with the depth of everything you have. With the heart of your existence, with every fiber of your being, with everything you are right now and everything you will be, with every atom that you possess. Love with the very veryness of you, extremely, exceedingly, exceptionally. Go the extra mile. Give him your coat as well. That's the message time and time again. So what we're hearing in Deuteronomy and in the Gospel of Matthew in heart, mind, and soul is a progression of degree. Love with your inner self. Now, love with your whole self. Love with the depth of the very veryness of yourself to the extreme, to the nth degree. Do you see the flag I'm waving at you, is what Jesus is saying. This is the point. Love within and without, and with the very veryness of who you are. We are called to love all that is. We are called to love the neighborhood with that all-encompassing agape. To be you to the fullest. In my heart, in my soul, in my mind, in my might, in all our ways of loving and being, in the fullness of everything that we are feeling, in every gift that we have been given, in every gift that we are. It is not an egotism It is the choice, as Rebecca Parker says, to bless the world, to choose to be a partner in the ongoing story of creation. We're part of the matrix, friends. And it requires that we give back some of what we have been given. Giving full of the spirit of life, beating like that great heart at the center. The young lawyer walked home that night feeling disappointed once again. He felt like he'd received an answer to his question, but also did not receive an answer to his question, because that's how these things work. He felt like he had been challenged. And so have we. I never have gotten the parable of the Second Samaritan I have gone looking for. But I think maybe I found something better. Love. All that is. Love the neighborhood. From within and from without. To the very depths of the veryness of our beings. May it be so. Offertory introduction. Yep, it's up there.
There we go. As a community of faith, we share what we can with one another. We offer ourselves through the ministries of this church by giving to and receiving from one another. One of those gifts is our financial resources. Your financial generosity makes it possible for us to live out our principles in our church and beyond our doors, keeping hope and courage and forgiveness and compassion alive. You may make a financial contribution online through the Giving app or through the baskets as they pass by in the sanctuary. This time is a time to share what you can. With gratitude, we give and we receive these gifts.
Just two announcements before we end. Next Sunday, we've got 2 events going on. First up, immediately following the service, for the parents of our youngest kids under 18, you're invited to spend some time with myself and Eby and Aaron. We're going to have a bit of an informational and question and answer time about what's coming up for the RE program in the fall. We have some plans. We'd like to hear your concerns, so please join us for that. And next week is also Pride Fest. If you have signed up already to man the booth, staff the booth, that's a better word. Thank you in advance. I will see you there at some point after I'm done with the other meeting I am involved in. But please stop by and come see us, even if you're not working the table that day. It's a fun time. Would you all please rise once more in body or spirit and join in our closing hymn, number 34.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not begin by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, spirits, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are free.
Friends, may life bless us and keep us. May the light of life shine upon us and out from within us and be gracious to us and bring us peace. For this is the day. This is the one wild and precious life we have been given. So let us all find a way to rejoice and be glad in it. Go in peace.